Friends, Germans, citizens from all over, sisters and brothers, we once had a dream. It was a dream of what Europe could have been. It wasn't about a single market, it wasn't about a single currency, it wasn't about a common budget. We dreamt of Europe as a peace with justice project. But that dream has now evaporated. In the cold, hard light that we woke up, it has gone. 15 years ago, a banker's crisis led to austerity for the many and to a lot of money printing for the very few. It was the end of justice, and it was the beginning of the long winter of Europe, of Germany's long winter, of deindustrialization, of stagnation, of a vicious class war against the majority all over Europe. And then, before we knew it, fascism and war was in the air. To stop the victims of their austerity from challenging them, from questioning them, they terrorize you. You heard Mr. Pistorius, the German defense minister, saying that Putin is the new Hitler and that we, the peace activists, are Putin's useful idiots, Putin's appeasers. I have a question for Mr. Pistorius. I have a question for Mrs. von der Leyen. I have a question for Mr. Friedrich Merz. If Putin is the new Hitler, why are you not sending Allied troops to take Moscow, to drag Putin to a new Nuremberg trial, or at least to force him into a bunker so he can commit suicide? Don't you realize what cowards you are, sending weapons to Ukraine so that the exhausted Ukrainians take Moscow or even the Crimea? The truth is that our leaders don't think that Putin is Hitler. They have been doing wonderful business with him for decades. They didn't say one word when he killed 250,000 people in Chechnya. All they care about, what they are in the business of, is a never-ending, very profitable war for themselves. That's all they care about. Having failed to invest in technology, in the social infrastructure of this country, of Europe, Europe's ruling class is banking on guns and bombs and drones and iron domes, and they want to spend your money on them. This is the only thing they care about. And if that means that the endless killing, the endless deaths continue on the killing fields of Ukraine, they don't give a damn. Friends, Germans, fellow demonstrators, brothers and sisters, comrades, since we were here last year, there have been two major developments. One, the International Criminal Court has indicted Netanyahu and his former defense minister for genocide. And also the second development, Donald Trump returned to the White House, openly advocating the completion of the genocide of Palestinians. A journalist asked me the other day, why are you still talking about Palestine in Munich? Why this fixation with Palestine? For two reasons. If this was 1938 and today was the morning after Kristallnacht, we would only have one duty: to defend the Jewish people from the Nazi pogroms. Today we only have one duty: to defend the Palestinian people from Israel's genocide. But there is a second reason too, and I also will come to this later. And now I come to the other reason. The other reason is this: what started in Gaza does not stay in Gaza. The sheer brutality in Gaza cannot be contained there, especially when our leaders here in Europe give the green light to the supremacist settlers to commit genocide with our weapons, our bombs that we send to them, with our buildings sporting their flag, with their flag being projected on the European Union buildings in Brussels. Supremacist ideology gets reinforced in Germany, in France, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Italy, in Spain, in Greece. And you can see that in the polls. With the rise of fascism, you will see it next Sunday as a result of your general election here in the Federal Republic of Germany. 80 years after we defeated the Nazis, 80 years after the representatives of the peoples of the world gathered in the United Nations to proclaim never again, it is happening again. With the complicity and the blessings of our leaders. By allowing international law to die in Palestine, they've killed international law everywhere, in Germany as well. For international law to mean anything, it must be applying to everyone, because if it doesn't apply to everyone, it doesn't apply to anyone. This is why we're here in Munich today. To say never again anywhere. We are here to tell the fools in government, to tell those people who behave as if the horrors and the crimes of the Holocaust can be washed in rivers of Palestinian blood, to tell the fools in government who think that the authoritarianism of Putin can be stemmed by piles of dead bodies of more and more Ukrainians, to tell them that we are here to stop them, that we are here to seize the day, today, so that tomorrow we can dream again, a dream of a Europe as a peace project, a project for peace with justice. Carpe diem. No pasarán.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great time. Now, we have looked at how America and Europe is right now. And I can tell you, everyone who understands history and how empires work, Europe is on the decline and America is also on the decline. There are new global forces taking shape. For example, the other day you saw that Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China, and that meeting brought together Xi Jinping of China, Vladimir Putin of Russia, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. It showed you that there is a sense in which there is a power shift within the global spheres. But is Europe aware of what is happening? Yes, they are very aware. That is why you find they are grappling with struggles here and there. For example, the war in Ukraine is not able to be sorted out because they are not strong as they were before. They know they cannot mess with Russia. They know they cannot mess with the allies of Russia, as it were. And that really tells you that there are certain things that are going to happen that might not really show their existence as it was before. So, in today's video, I came across this clip by Yanis Varoufakis. He was a Greece government official and he's been speaking about global geopolitics in many spheres. And the clip talks about how the fall of Europe emerged, yet even Europeans themselves were not aware of the coming downfall of their space. Let's watch this, come back and share our thoughts in the end.
Friends, fellow travelers, comrades, we once had a dream of what Europe could have been. A Europe of shared prosperity, of dignity, of freedom, a Europe of peace with hope. Alas, that dream is now dead. It's gone, it's lost, it's kaput, it's finished. Why? What the hell happened to Europe? Well, we know what happened to Europe. We know why politicians from all over are descending upon this splendid city as we speak, like manic drones determined to blow up, to bomb to smithereens what is left of the dream of Europe.
We know what happened in Europe. On the 9th of February 2016, we were at the Volksbühne Theater in Berlin. And that was the day, the night, when DiEM25 was born. And in that meeting, we said, in no uncertain terms, Europe will either democratize or it will disintegrate. In the last 9 years, Europe refused to democratize, and therefore today it is disintegrating. It is degenerating into a totalitarian war union. You can see that, you can smell it. This is what happens when you have austerity for the many and money printing as if there is no tomorrow for the very few. Mixed with this austerity, you have mind-numbing surges of inequality. Every time capitalism stagnates and inequality surges, while the official left joins the center in a futile attempt to bail out the bankrupt liberal establishment. Do you know what is around the corner every time that happens? Fascism and war. Just like in the 1930s, two varieties of totalitarianism began to tussle for power. The radicalized neo-fascist right promises to make us great again, not through ending austerity or exploitation, but through a moral reckoning, a kind of cultural cleansing that targets the impure foreign bodies in the pure body of the nation, or at least the Christian, white, patriarchal Europe. Foreigners, trans people, lesbians, Muslims, and Jews, particularly those who don't support genocide, are proclaimed the enemy within. On the other side, you have the radicalized totalitarian centrists who succeeded in retaining their relevance as the only bulwark against the fascists. How do they do that? With policies that deepen the crisis that fuels fascism, and thus their own claim to be the only bulwark against fascism. This is the definition of a perfect vicious cycle that fuels totalitarianism. Like Tweedledum and Tweedledee, the radicalized totalitarian centrists and the radicalized neo-fascists, they are sucking the air out of democracy, making totalitarianism great again. Every variety of it. Lest we forget, we did not have to wait for fascists to win government before our Greek referendum of July 2015 was banned because they didn't like the outcome. We didn't have to wait for the fascists to win government before they fired Marilyn Schwarzer from her job at the German civil service for failing to support genocide. We didn't have to wait for the fascists to win government before they banned me from entering Germany, even via Zoom. We didn't have to wait for the fascists to win government before the Romanian presidential elections were cancelled simply because the radicalized totalitarian centrists didn't like the outcome. The only substantive difference between the 1930s and our times today, do you know what it is? Tweedledum, that is the radicalized totalitarian centrists, and Tweedledee, the radicalized neo-fascist parties, they have traded places when it comes to war. Somehow confusingly, Tweedledum, the radicalized totalitarian centrists who are weaponizing military Keynesianism, are crying out for more war, for an endless war. And the Tweedledee part of the equation, the radicalized neo-fascists, they are advocating for peace. Well, a very steely, very ruthless, very chilling form of peace. Yes, in 2015, 2016, we foretold all that at the Volksbühne Theater, but that didn't stop us from failing to stop it. A cruel reminder that being right is not everything. Why did we fail? Why did we miss the popular wave, which 10 years ago was on our side of politics? And why, therefore, did we allow the fascists to exploit their revived thirst for radicalism? Yes, it is true, we were ruthlessly squeezed between Tweedledum, the radicalized totalitarian centrists, and Tweedledee, the radicalized neo-fascist right. But we have to confess that we made some unforced errors ourselves. We invested, and this is a personal criticism too, too much on green Keynesianism, forgetting the timeless lesson that even when the bourgeoisie, the ruling class, adopts Keynesianism as a last resort to save themselves, the ruling class will always stop it, withdraw from it the moment their bottom line improves, well before the many taste any of the fruits of Keynesianism, green or not so green. Our Green New Deal was, after all, never adopted, except in name. They even dropped the new. They just made it a Green Deal. Totally vacuous program, which now, of course, is dead in the water. So our Green New Deal contributed in the mind of people out there who are not particularly political. Every time they hear the word green, they immediately think, you know what they translate it to? It's like the Iraqis in Baghdad, when they hear the word democracy with an American accent, they hide under the table because they know they will be bombed. The people of Europe, the strugglers of Europe, when they hear the word green policy, they think, oh my God, they will tax me again. Higher cost of living for me that had to shoulder the banking crisis, the bailouts. We also proved unable to liberate people from exploitation. What we gave them as the M25 was the freedom to choose their pronouns on our website, which would have been fine if it wasn't so pathetically inadequate in the grander scheme of things. We ended up, instead of organizing auto workers, the precariat, nurses, we organized signifiers, appearing to many people, to the vast majority, as an intellectual vanguard that is really enjoying the self-styled subversive thrills from an imagined revolution with all the comforts and trappings of a bourgeois soirée. And last but not least, we thought we could mobilize and radicalize the existing left, center-left, green parties, only to discover 2 or 3 years later that they didn't care. They were not interested. What must we do now? Let's begin by acknowledging that we are at the end of a 40-year-long cycle of a vicious class war waged against working people. And we're at the beginning of another cycle, this time of military Keynesianism, of weaponized xenophobia, of totalitarianism within, and techno-feudalism all around us. So, it's time to be bold, time to be clear on 7 crucial issues that must become 7 crucial campaigns. On security and peace, or peace with security, and how to end the carnage on the killing fields of Ukraine, where lives are being devoured by a ruthless mechanical precision. Let us reject outright Donald Trump's predatory seizure of Ukraine's natural resources. Let us campaign to get the whole of Europe, not just one country or another, out of NATO immediately. There is no point in NATO. It has been proven. Donald Trump has proven it. We should have proven it before Donald Trump. But we need to get out of NATO. Brussels needs to throw NATO into the sea. Let us plot a course to a non-aligned but never neutral Europe. A non-aligned but never neutral Europe. Offering to relax sanctions as a carrot and return to Russia its $300 billion of frozen assets. We should immediately commence negotiations with the Kremlin and with Beijing on a comprehensive strategic arrangement between Europe, Russia, and China, an arrangement within which Ukraine becomes, in the next 100 years, what Austria was during the Cold War. What was Austria during the Cold War? It was sovereign, it was neutral, democratic, and as integrated with the rest of Europe as its citizens needed and desired. That's what the plan for Ukraine should be. On green prosperity, we must fiercely oppose military Keynesianism. It is unsustainable. The only thing it can produce is poverty, debt, and more crisis, not to mention war. We must fiercely oppose military Keynesianism, and we must replace it with a massive green investment program that combines development with degrowth. On dignity, let us campaign for a new monetary commons that sidelines private banks, offers a trust fund for everyone, and guarantees a universal dividend, call it a universal basic income, to each. On the big thorny issue of migration, let us turn the accusation of us being soft on foreigners into a virtue. Let us shout it from the rooftops that Europe without mass migration will die, it will perish, it will not be viable. Let us proclaim that we want migrants, not out of solidarity, but out of self-interest. On combating techno-feudalism, let us sanction immediately the cloudless tech lords, not just Musk, but Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, Google. Let's restrict immediately the access to the European markets of Amazon, of Uber, of Airbnb. Instead of the Luxembourg, Ireland, Holland means by which they pay no tax, let us tax them to extinction. Let's impose Can't we create our own apps in this continent of ours? Why do we need them? Let us impose interoperability. That would really cut them off at the knees. Let's end the ban on companies like the Dutch company ASML to export tech to China. And above all else, let us develop our own socialized cloud capital, the stirrings of a magnificent future techno-socialism. On freedom, shall we dismantle totalitarianism now in each one of our countries? Shall we not benefit enormously from fighting for everyone's freedom to vote and for their vote to be counted? For the freedom of expression of our enemies as well, not just the people we agree with. Unlike J.D. Vance, who rightly spoke out in Munich, if you remember, a few weeks ago, against Europe's descent into censoriousness. He did say that. He was right. Except, of course, that he was a bloody hypocrite, because he would never defend Julian Assange's right to journalism or our right to freedom of speech in favor of Palestine. Speaking of Palestine and free speech, it is clear now, is it not, that what started in Gaza cannot stay in Gaza. Such brutality could not be contained within Gaza. To keep it from our media, from our cultural institutions, from the streets and the squares where we demonstrate, the powers that be had to dissolve basic civil liberties in Germany, in Holland, in France, in the United States. That's why our seventh campaign must be stop genocide, get the whole of Europe to boycott, divest and sanction Israel, the last apartheid state, in the same way that we sanctioned, divested and boycotted South Africa under apartheid. Friends, fellow travelers, comrades, we have much to do. The European dream is dead. Long live the dream that we are dreaming tonight together. Carpe diem. Thank you.
What a powerful speech by Varoufakis. He has always been very on point and understands how geopolitical issues operate. So why does he believe that the collapse of Europe is inevitable? Yanis Varoufakis argues that Europe's collapse is inevitable due to the European Union's flawed economic and political architecture, particularly the Eurozone's lack of federal institutions to stabilize its monetary union during crisis. He highlights how the 2008 financial crisis exposed these weaknesses, leading to a persistent economic slump exacerbated by austerity policies and a failure to federate effectively. The EU's response, transferring private banking losses to public debt while enforcing fiscal restraint, created a liquidity trap, stifling investment in critical areas like green technology and cloud capital, leaving Europe lagging behind the United States and China economically. Varoufakis also points to the EU's transformation into a peace project. Varoufakis also points to the EU's transformation from a peace project into a war project as a destabilizing factor. He argues that the EU's increasing militarization, driven by policies like the 800 billion Rearm Europe plan, diverts resources from prosperity-building industries and fuels global conflicts, making Europe less secure and economically weaker. Combined with subservience to US geopolitical interests, since the EU's inception erodes its autonomy and relevance, pushing it toward irrelevance and political disintegration. Politically, Varoufakis sees Europe crumbling under liberal totalitarianism, and rising xenophobic alt-right movements fueled by economic stagnation and neglect of its people. The EU's failure to address inequality, coupled with its suppression of democratic processes like austerity imposed on Greece, has poisoned politics, empowering far-right and conservative allies. This erosion of shared prosperity and democratic hope, alongside external pressures from figures like Trump and Musk, accelerate Europe's decline, making collapse a looming reality unless radical changes are made. And that is the case. Varoufakis is point on. Europe is collapsing and there is no one who is going to save it. They have to work on their structures. They have to look at whether they are doing what they formed. They have to look at whether they are addressing the challenges and the issues that led to its formation, and that is a major issue that must be checked in. Thank you for staying tuned in till this moment. If you watched us for the first time, remember to subscribe. We have lined up great content for you coming forward. Then also remember to join, and then also you can join our membership to get access to exclusive content tailored just for you. So thank you, and let's speak to the next one.